guest for Tech Week. If you don't know who I am, I'm the author of the Smartphone Millionaire book, How to Invest in People, Businesses, and Real Estate from the Palm of Your Hand. You can catch it on Amazon or in the links below, or you can get the Classy Climb Planner, helping you knock out your daily life and goals. Hey, that's what I'm talking about, man. 3 little things a day, micro steps. Yep. So I like to let the guests sometimes introduce themselves. But yes, we have none other than Mr. Lee. Bring it on. Introduce yourself to the audience.
Hey everyone, my name is Cam Lee from Brooklyn, New York. And I am a marketing and data scientist. So I help awesome companies, small size as well as hyper growth mid-sized companies, surface intelligence so they know exactly what to do to grow in economies such as what we're experiencing right now. So equipping sales and marketing with everything they need to do.
Okay. So did you start out at this job, this destination? Most people start tech at somewhere else. Give us a little bit of introduction of how did you like step a foot into tech?
Good question. So I really have to, give God the glory for making me have an awesome, mom and dad, rest of the soul, who have prepared me to be really focused and driven when it comes to studying from a young age. So at the age of 8 years old, I actually was really deep into web development, as well as graphic design. And over the years, playing with awesome landing pages, seeing the results we're getting from that, I became very curious about why customers, because I was consulting at the time, why customers were choosing certain templates versus others, and why they were getting results that they were getting as far as conversion rates. So that threw me down a rabbit hole of wanting to understand analytics and what drives those conversions. So it really was, the rest was history, diving deep into business intelligence, analytics when it comes to marketing, understanding the psychology behind why people do the things that they do before they drive an actual sale, and really understanding that roadmap. And that's what really has led me to what I'm doing today, which is really part strategy, but also part analytics.
Okay. So y'all, that was up here. I was like, whoa, okay, Cam.
Oh, really?
No, you're good. I'm messing with you. So basically you're like, why are people doing what they do? Why are they buying what they buy? Why do they click on this instead of that? And then once you started there, it just started dribbling. You start seeing other opportunities.
Yeah, and it really drove from seeing what companies really need, like what type of problems they're looking to solve, because we oftentimes hear these amazing whiz-bang features and strategies from influencers such as Russell Brunson or and others, and oftentimes we're not really understanding the psychology behind that, and also understanding how that pertains to your business, and it's in that particular use case. So there's never a one-size-fit-all solution. There's always something that's happening beneath the surface, and the data is the ultimate source of truth for that. So that's really the driver behind everything that I'm doing. As we know, data, which actually has been proven through recent research from Gartner and Nielsen, that data is the new oil, is actually more valuable than currency. During the last recession, we saw in 2008, companies such as Uber and Airbnb, they were birthed out of that crisis. And that was because there was a direct correlation between what they were doing, like how they're responding from the data that they were collecting. So that's really the drive behind what I do today.
So I think about it in some ways, what you're talking about is when people go to purchase something, if they have to click on a link and it opens up a new window, you lose a lot of people there. Or if someone has to put like landing pages, they start adding too many questions, you lose people there. Like why people click, why people buy. That's a lot of what I'm hearing.
Yeah, like why they click, why they do what they do, but also now what we're seeing in the industry is a drive behind these relationships and how they're getting started. So that's one of the cool projects that I'm working on, which is called Relationship Affinity. So as you've recently seen with Spotify and Joe Rogan getting these awesome, packages, deals and whatnot, there's a reason why that occurred. And we have to look at certain things beneath the surface, such as like attribution, like what causes the actual sale, what causes someone to be curious about the Classy Client blog and all the things that make you, Erica, who you are. So really getting an understanding of that and then surfacing that data to understand what's happening at the top of the funnel. So all the new customers that are coming to the business is what really will drive growth for companies as they get through this recession.
You know, part of what I'm thinking is Joe Rogan was #1 because of some of the censorship on Skynet. Yep. But I think Steven Crowder might be a low #10 if he could clean up some of his act. If he wouldn't be so offensive. And this is just me like watching what Spotify did, but also seeing there's probably a #1 and a #10 they have in mind already. Like they've already got a row of people. Joe's just the first that we're hearing about, but they've already probably put their list together. They've probably been working behind the scenes. Who is such a big enough name that we can make a big enough splash? And it was Joe Rogan.
And not just that, but you also have to prove what the ROI is behind that. Just because, as you know, you can have a major audience of 500,000 subscribers, but the engagement could be low or could be really crappy. So you have to really show the cause and effect behind that. And that's what oftentimes, well, that's what marketing data science provides. It provides companies with the ability to really understand their steps for figuring out who they should work with, whether it is, the Crowder Show or Joe Rogan, what have you. Those are the things that really drive the dollars at the end of the day. So this is where we are today.
I like. So, the Rona has come through. Dun, 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 dun. And, how has it changed your opportunities? I feel like you got more opportunities starting this year, but you just give us some feedback on that.
Yeah. So as you know, in any given recession, there are people who are going to come out of it stronger than they came into it. And the thing with the tech world is that every company is scrambling right now, trying to figure out what to do next. This has impacted marketing teams for every company, knowing how much to spend on ads on Facebook, YouTube, what have you, but also understanding how they can surface the best new customers for their organization. So really data analytics, and really it's even more importantly, data strategy is what is going to drive companies past recession. So there's two parts here, like you're collecting the data and you're analyzing it, but you also have to tell a story behind that. And that's a really interesting thing I want to get into, because data storytelling is a great opportunity if you are interested in data science and analytics, but you do not want to be part of the math involved necessarily. Right now, business leaders need to be able to understand and make sense of all of these algorithms, what's happening behind these dashboards and reports. And there's a great weakness in data science and analytics where we have the folks who are very tech-minded, very numbers-driven. They're having trouble being able to translate that to show what contribution is being made to the bottom line. And if you're able to wedge yourself within that, you're going to have the most amazing responsibilities, because you're a problem solver. You're directly contributing to the bottom line of the business. So the opportunities are endless. I would say they actually have increased since this virus has gone, because companies need to have a compass to know how to navigate through this storm.
So I would say today I posted one of the ads for jobs on Indeed.com, and it was, I put really heavy on like social media, marketing, creating content, reading the data, onboarding, all stuff. And I had a girl immediately go, boom, like first out of the gate, like, hey, I just graduated with data science and this is perfect. I can do this. And she had a great story on her LinkedIn. It was a great story in her resume and underneath the second part. Part of your journey, what I've noticed over the past years, is last year you went to a really great conference, or a couple of them.
Yep.
And which were those conferences, if you could share?
So I will share the conferences, but there's a story that and some epiphanies that crossed the way. So I became more obsessed with data science because I used to work for an organization called ClickFunnels. I was actually in the sales engineering helping to close those sales, as well as helping to resolve different technical bugs and issues. And this allowed me to really understand a lot of the issues that small business owners were facing. And as I became more exposed to different influencers and folks across that, I noticed there was a big difference between what the more business to consumer market, which is like ClickFunnels, versus more enterprise, where we're talking like Oracle and Salesforce we're doing. And being exposed to a lot of more of those enterprise level conferences where you're really rubbing shoulders against millionaire engineers and sales executives and hearing the problems that they're facing, it really came down to the same problem, which is understanding cause and effect of their customers. Yes, they may have different price points, but they're all the same thing. So just diving myself deep into that, I attended the Oracle Modern Customer Experience, and a lot of those similar types of conferences, they expose you to new tips and tricks that are going to be coming out over the next 1 to 5 years from now. So if you really want to be on a cusp of awesome marketing strategies, sales techniques, and most importantly, customer experience strategies, you want to expose yourself as much as possible to those events. Networking opportunities, I've seen a lot of folks get internships from there, even speaking engagements. It's really a different world. It's night and day. And even getting opportunities within tech consulting. I do consulting as well, with large enterprise companies as well. And that's really, there's a place where people are looking for problem solvers.
So part of why I remember that so much is you're like, I'm going to this conference, Erica, and you took me pictures or whatever. And I was just like, okay, what's this about? But that's just every day. There's these conferences that people completely don't know about, and they provide amazing information and shoulder rubbing. After tech, when I went, I was like, this is like a homecoming / anybody can get a job if you want it. And, a lot of different opportunities because it's not even just, I feel like some of those events become your next Uber, become your next, startup where somebody came together and partnered at those events. So I like that you went, but putting in perspective, I think we talked about Udemy at some point where you had saw some course on Udemy, and like the whole ClickFunnels sales thing is great because I'm doing a sales show, I think Wednesday, but next week with a couple people. So you might need to come on the panel for that. But what's your thoughts on Udemy, on some of the courses you see out there from some of the certification? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, so as some of you guys are aware, I'm a member of the CLASSYIT Facebook group, and I purposely try to provide as much value in that group by showing different discounts and offers that are being available, especially right now given the coronavirus situation. Recently, Oracle had a round of free certifications if you're interested in understanding data architecture, so understanding like the systems that house the data and how to structure all those things within those. There are opportunities right now. I understand Google also has some free certifications they're providing with training, especially with AWS. So these things are out there right now. I have to implore everyone to get on LinkedIn as much as possible. There are awesome influencers who are leaders of these big tech companies who are purposely making their time available to help out the small businesses, help them navigate, do marketing and sales techniques, and are sometimes sponsoring certifications and things for you. But if you're looking at the ground running right now, I highly recommend going through a Udemy course, a course on Pluralsight. Sometimes LinkedIn provides courses on some of these topics as well. But you can learn as much as you want. But at the end of the day, when you go in for that interview, whether it's for a consulting gig or a full-time position, these companies want to understand the problems that you have solved. That's what's really going to make you stand out in this climate, especially knowing that things will be more competitive, but ultimately that you have the chops to really come in and start making some immediate transformation. So as a data scientist and you're interested in digital marketing, you need to understand how you can apply that skill set to that field of expertise. So one example can be like what I'm discussing just now, like relationship affinity. How can you create analyses that surface more of a competitive, a roadmap for a company to help them identify their competitors, as well as surfacing the best customers to get on a call with immediately to help close a sale. Things of that sort really help move the needle and making you seem as the best person for the job. So really try to build a portfolio that is very specific, that has a lot of these use cases defined, to really get you in that door and ultimately land that job.
For sure, for sure. So I always think conferences open a lot of doors, but so do a lot of, like, when LinkedIn offers some training for free, I'm like, take it, right? Same thing when we're at YouTube in Anaheim last year, and they were like, hey, we have this free YouTube certification. I was like, y'all go to the classes, because you don't know if that means next year people who have the certifications get more bump on their channel, something happens in the future. Again, because if you're editing, you're recording, you're making videos, you're doing a lot of things that contribute to, like, tech.
Yep. And also, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, and also, like, in addition to having that portfolio, a good way to build value is to donate some of your time. I know that may be painful for some of you who may really value your time, but it's really becomes more valuable when you actually have the cause and effect. Like, what did you contribute that ultimately drove the needle for the bottom line of that business? So volunteering your time to help out a local bakery shop or a local startup or whatnot really quickly gets you in that door, rather than having these cool like projects that may visualize a video game that you built using data science or something along the lines of that. It's more contextual, and it really makes it more real for that company who's vetting you.
It's like you actually worked with the business, you actually used your skills, you know, and you talked and you communicated with people, really. That's a shortcut.
Like, even if you don't have a college degree, anything like that, that's what's really going to drive the needle. Companies want to see results. They want to see what you did, how you did it, and what was the results of that.
Sure. That's what somebody just asked, how they get a career without a background in tech. It's working with people. Ron for Real Estate asked, do you have a list of conferences that you would recommend?
Yeah, so I have a personal bias, but I definitely think if you were to attend Salesforce Dreamforce, that could be pretty pricey. It's definitely very worthwhile to you. But there are cool organizations. I can provide them in the Facebook group who may be interested in sponsoring you to go to these events. But given what's happened with COVID, a lot of things are going virtual now. So the networking opportunities are taking place online with less of a barrier to entry. But yeah, Salesforce Dreamforce is one. Again, the Oracle Modern Customer Experience is another. And really tap into LinkedIn, because there are a lot of smaller virtual conferences that are happening where you can learn from great insiders who are doing cool things with Google Data Studio and BigQuery and AWS and all these cool technologies that are being utilized more and more. It's really just being a part of that community, and you will just see it because people are advertising things on a daily basis.
Right. So I like that. He has it, put it inside the Facebook group. So again, Mindful J said, Salesforce Marketing Cloud Certification, Python. Which path should I go for marketing, analytics, and data analytics job?
So I would say if you're interested in data analytics, SQL is mandatory, really, because you have to understand how to extract the data, how to transform it, how to load it into like an interface, such as like a dashboard, knowing like what you actually are going to be analyzing and showing results of in real time, as well as being able to actually understand what's happening beneath the surface. That language is actually a lot more simpler than basic HTML. So do not feel deterred from that. It's something they hit the ground running with, and it is a growing skill right now. I believe there's a gentleman that you had on your channel before. I forgot. I think his name was Sub-Zero. He offers a SQL training that goes in depth on business intelligence and things of that sort. So yeah, definitely take advantage of that skill. If you are looking to niche down, I would say then if you're interested in marketing and data analytics, I would say get a certification in something like Marketo, and that is spelled Marketo. And that's owned by Adobe. It's a marketing automation platform. So think lead pages, ClickFunnels, but for the enterprise level. And by marrying those skill sets, you're able to not only execute a marketing campaign very well, but you're also able to show the data behind that, be able to understand how it exists in the entire ecosystem of a company. And by ecosystem, I mean how the data flows system to system, whether it's MailChimp, what have you, is an example. And to take it to the next level, Python will allow you to now surface some of those data science insights. So that's an example of niching down and really standing apart from other people in your industry.
Somebody said this is great info.
Sweet.
Someone said, what transferable or additional skills are needed to gain a foothold in data science coming from a Python developer path?
So with an understanding that you understand SQL, Python, R, etc., you want to have some skills that cannot be learned from a textbook. It's more of just dealing with people. You have to know people skills, like how do you talk to a different stakeholder in the room? If they're the CEO or CFO, as well as the VP, and be able to communicate the value of what's happening in the data to them so they understand what they need to take action on immediately. Just an example of how I am personally upskilling right now. I've been really deep into data storytelling because oftentimes companies are collecting a lot of this data. They hear this buzzword of data science and analytics. They want to take advantage of it, but they don't really understand what's happening. They look at the information and they just export to Excel, read tables, and try to understand what's happening behind that, instead of having an awesome tool that really tells them what action they should take immediately on. So right. That's what data storytelling does. And that's really a communication that you have to, communication that gets developed over time. So it's knowing like psychology, kind of how to serenade your audience to get them to take action on certain things, exposing problems, that may be occurring in your existing digital marketing campaign, for example, or what could be bleeding money from the business. Drawing those conclusions very well will surface not only the value that you provide to the company, which is good for job security, of course, but also it makes you look a lot more valuable from the CEO's eyes. You become the teacher's pet, essentially. You're their right-hand person because you're steering the ship. You are telling the company what they should do to navigate through this crisis. So effective communication, people skills, that will take you very far.
So you should have Toastmasters or you should be just working on your communication so that you can see, hey, what I'm telling you here is very valuable. This is what we need to survive. Yeah,
you need to know how to break ice, how to, build relationships with people. Otherwise, you're just an awkward person who just looks at numbers all day and can't provide value. Like they can't really translate what you do to the bottom line.
For sure, yeah. And I think right now in these times, there's probably before been somebody on the team saying, "Hey, this is the data," and they're like, "Shut up!" And now they're like, "Hey, what's this data saying?" And he's like, "Oh, now you listen." So I think this is a great time for people to move up, people to be able to kind of say, "This is what I'm seeing, and this is what we should be doing next."
Exactly.
Casey Nave said you get a free ServiceNow systems admin certificate for free until June 3rd. It's not too late. Some people are getting their cert within a week. Okay, you guys.
Yep. There's somebody in the community. Shout out to Ethan Troy. He's been crushing it with the certifications lately. I think he got like 3 or 4 of them down within a couple of weeks. So guys, like it's not rocket science. Yeah, the keyword science is in the word, like data science and in engineering, but you really can hit the ground running on this. It's all you need is the right mindset.
Radiance put Salesforce, Streamforce, Oracle Virtual Experience.
There you go.
He asked, D Hustler asked, how do you feel about Oracle certifications?
I don't think it's really a one size fit all scenario. Each company has its own tech stack. So like the list of tools that they use to execute what they're doing. It's really just kind of figuring out where you fit in if you're looking to add value as a business owner, like you're consulting a company in corporate consulting, or as an employee. So it's really, it's just an ecosystem, just like Apple devices versus Android devices. They theoretically do the same thing, but it's just a different process to actually get the result at the end of the day. So I would not get caught up in that. Oracle is super valuable. So is AWS and Google Cloud. So just pick a roadmap and dive deep and niche.
I think, again, the thing I keep hearing over and over is pick something and go.
Yep.
Because it's very much, once you're in the door, now if there's a lateral move you want to take or a move up, that seems to be very easy for people. Everybody I've talked to that's ever lived in Austin, I hate to say it, there's one or two guys from our church who are kind of like late 20s, 30s, like kind of drifting. And literally that same guy that I thought really wasn't going to do anything with his career is now working over at Apple. So the change can be 6 months to a year. It's just a decision. It's a push. It's like, hey, I'm gonna pick this one thing, get in the door, and then as I'm there, they can tell me what they need me to do. Same thing here in Austin. A lot of companies, people were like, project management. Now some companies are saying, just get here. We'll figure out if we need to send you for project management training.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, save yourself some money.
And then also to echo that point, it's really, again, like niching down, choosing something, but it's also taking what you learned, and to Todd Milley's like mantra, use that, like exploit that for your own business opportunities. Do not just settle into a career, working crazy hours and, just because you make 6 figures, you're comfortable. No, challenge yourself, gives yourself some more freedom behind that. So it's an awesome way to really step in the door to consulting or creating your own SaaS or like software company, which is something that I'm doing right now as well. So it's like, you really have to see the levels of this. Like, I don't want to brag or sound crazy or anything, but like, it's not, as you've heard from Kimmoy and other folks in the panels, it's not laughable to see you receive like 12 calls or messages from recruiters on a daily basis. Like, this is the norm, and it's going to get worse because there's a skill gap. And sometimes it's cheaper for a company to actually hire a business to come in and just really drive transformation. So why not be that business owner that does it? You don't have to necessarily be the employee as well.
Listen, y'all, I'm trying to tell you, if I can show you a stack of people I brought in last year to come to Austin, fly here, a consultant, come and consult me what to do with the trucks, consult me what to do with the fund, consult me how to do this. Like, people are just like, oh, how you spend all that money last year on courses? I'm like, it wasn't just courses. It was also in person, someone who actually, 1 or 2 of them worked for a company, came in, hey, this is what you need. This is the software you need. If you put your team on the software, you'll be fine. And you're going to see a lot more of that because it saves me a lot more money instead of hiring a full-time accountant. And so I come in here and teach one of my staff members to do a lot of things on QuickBooks, and then the accountant team do the rest. Right. So it's shortcut. Like, as a business owner, you're going to start seeing it as a shortcut. The same thing with the staff I'm hiring across the hallway here. If I pick the 3 or 4 girls who all have data science, but I also can bring somebody in and say, hey, how can we take this brand from 6 figures a month to even more or double what we're already doing? And that's the point of like, this data stuff is so important because I literally I'm in Austin, Texas, and we have about 4 or 5 different businesses who are doing $1 million a month. ClickFunnels guy out here, the digital marketer lives here. Ryan Morris lives here. A lot of people live here. 4-Hour Work Week, Tim Ferriss. A lot of these people have people on staff that are doing data science related things. So let me see.
And to that point, it's like recently, like Erica, like as part of being part of the YouTube course, you have shown me that there are people out there who are coming from companies like Apple and Facebook who created courses and strategies around this. They're packaging what they've already learned directly from the leaders who are going to, who are driving the force behind what we're doing, and exposing it for the little person to be able to drive value for their own business. So, like there's one example. There was a guy who does Facebook ads, and they were working directly at Facebook, and they're providing the strategies behind that. Like, why can't you be that next person who also, transform the industry?
Exactly, because there's a gap here between Facebook even did a thing at South by Southwest where they had a whole meet, like all business owners come in, and they gave us a very watered down version, basically that came out to say, look, pay to play. And this was about 4 years ago. And I was like, everybody was in there like, huh? And they even had a business owner say, yeah, I started using the ads. It's a woman called Celtic Traditions. And she actually sells, Irish related things all over the internet, sells out. And she was the first person talking about Facebook ads. And everybody in there was like, are they trying to sell us on Facebook ads? And I was like, no, they're telling us that this is the future. And that was 4 years ago. And there's only so much Facebook could say, like, hey, y'all gonna have to start paying us for traffic. It's like they couldn't come out and say it clearly, but there was that gap. And so if you're a Facebook employee and you no longer work there, you can come out and say, hey, I can help you beat the strategies to get yourself and your business seen on Facebook more. Stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, there are Facebook strategies that companies are using right now that 99% of the companies are not using right now. And it's, behind closed doors, so it's like, it takes years before some of that information gets released, so, take that and do what you will. That's all I have to say. Like, be smart in CYA.
Yeah. Keep it techie. Thank you for the $5 super chat. He said, your guest is putting out some great information. I'm currently a DBA. What's that? What's those initials, sir?
DBA. That is, I'm drawing a blank. It's a person who oversees the database, like a manager database and things, from what I understand. So I am building some expertise in data engineering just because I have to own a lot of the back end, like using Amazon Redshift to extract data so we can look at it in different ways. But DBA is another animal, which I'm not.
Right.
Yeah.
So they're like data storytelling sounds interesting. It's easy to get lost when learning tech. So many options. That's true, and that's part of why I bring Chris Johnson. So like you could kind of get this overview, and then you pick a path, and that's why I bring him on. Hey, thank you, Vanessa Ness, for the $5 super chat. I really appreciate it. Industry 4.0 IoT engineering is also an option.
Yeah, I mean, we can spend endless amount of time exposing what's going to be big in tech, but you really have to just choose a path, like Erica's saying, and just dive deep. It's really the problem solving, utilizing these tools is what is going to get you big bucks.
Yeah.
I mean, even to see what's going on with remote work. Now you have pay cuts going to be happening soon. So like, how do you make sure that you are getting a top dollars if you're still being an employee in tech? Well, you have to solve bigger problems. So that's what it comes down to.
Rod for real estate said, you guys are bringing the best information here for free. You could have charged a fee for this week's lineup. I tell you what, I did have a tech course breakthrough ideal I had thought of, but I said, no, we're going to give this for free. We'll see next week. I'm going to bring on some more guests, and I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to take all the videos down. It's inside the course. Good luck.
Vicious start.
No. Data is the new oil. Okay.
There you go.
Database administrator. Yeah. They said, do you teach classes right now?
So right now, I provide consulting for businesses who are looking to make better use of their data so they know how to grow effectively, not only with marketing and sales. So if that's something you're interested in, hit me up on LinkedIn. My name is Cam Lee, K-A-M, last name is Lee. Don't blame my parents for those names, but that's how you can get in touch with me. I do have some awesome videos in the works. It's been slammed with a lot of projects given what's happened with coronavirus, but with you know who. But yes, definitely reach out. And I can be a resource, answer any questions you may have.
So what are some ways you're trying to entice or say, hey, people, come look over here at what I'm doing in tech? Have you been able to do that? Do you find that you're going to do that more in the future?
Meaning, like trying to get people to get a career in tech?
Yes.
Yeah. So right now, as I mentioned, I am all about data storytelling, telling effective cause and effect stories with the data. And I definitely see that as being a great resource for people who are not, very right brain, I think it is, more numbers driven, so that they can be the buffer between the data scientists and the stakeholders. So definitely looking to transfer some of those skills in the future. But for now, just to be honest, I can provide a great amount of value in the form of transforming a business, because that not only creates more jobs, but also, creates more disruptors in the industry. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. But I do have awesome tools in the works that will really help people who are looking to get in the door without a college degree hit the ground running. So just keeping a lookout. I'm always in the chat here on Erica's channel, also on Facebook, so definitely reach out. But my channel here on YouTube is Big Money Growth. So that will be talking about machine learning and AI to drive sales and marketing. Just for the little person. So someone who just, when I say little, not to devalue anyone, but for people who are not so aware of data science concepts and different things of that sort, so they can apply that to their small business. So that's a great way, right, that I'm going to provide value right now.
I love it. And I mean, it really, like, YouTube is such a window opener. And in 5 years from now, he could be out there speaking on stage at Afrotech. Who knows? You know what I mean? Like, it kind of goes upskill really fast. What are some things? Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. I'm just like, I have so much value today. So it's important to note that, like, a lot of the jobs that I'm thinking about that are not reliant on the analytics so much, but more understanding how the systems connect to actually drive the data. Those jobs, like, there's research that proves this. Those jobs pay in excess of 200 grand a year, because companies have so much data. Again, data is in the oil. There's so much of it. And only the big companies, I'm talking like Amazon, Walmart, who have algorithms, can know when you purchase a t-shirt and by when there'll be a hole in it and when you may want to buy a new one. They only have their systems set in place. The smaller companies, they're a mess. They need somebody who can go in and figure out how to connect A and B together so that we can give you the right results. That doesn't require, well, basic math oftentimes is what you need, but all you need to understand is logic principles, understanding how to connect systems together and how they work. So I'm talking about APIs, for example, APIs, things like Zapier, etc. That is what is going to be the biggest frontier. Companies need to understand how to do that so that they can really look at the data. And that's a really good low barrier for people who are looking to get in. But again, those certifications will help you with that, because you'll have the context and understanding, well, how can I connect Amazon Redshift to, say, ActiveCampaign or to ClickFunnels, what have you, so that we can start looking at data differently. So I didn't mean to go on a tangent about that. But
No. But part of why I want y'all to see him is because Cam Lee be working from home. He's 100% remote like Kimmoy. And so you're thinking, when I hear your job, I'm like, oh, he comes in every day. He's talking with the business. He's telling them what to do. No. He's at home, chilling in pajamas. He just got a shirt on. You know what I mean? So it's like, the shirt for the video. That's it. It's like, done. So I just want you guys to understand that sometimes we tell our family and friends, oh, I'm going to do data science or I'm going to do this. And they have no context to how big this industry can be. And that's why I'm always encouraging you on this channel, go to conferences, connect with people. Like, I think part of my biggest thing here is I try to show them, I'm like, people are like, oh, you need these YouTube channels to be hundreds of thousands of views. I'm like, no, you don't. You could have a concentrated audience and the math and the numbers are just line up, that people want to buy things, people want to talk to the owner, different things. And so all these things are data points, and like, I can go on a tangent, but it would be off camera because it's talking about my business per se. But I know people right now who, just data in the thought of they're wholesalers and they market to a certain area, they have a certain number of pickups, and they don't even realize they're talking numbers or storytelling, but they are.
Yep.
And so
people the wrong story, but it's a story.
Well, I just think of Maxwell and certain people. I'm like, they're working a certain area, they're doing a certain thing, they're getting their numbers and their information from somewhere.
Yep.
And so all of it goes together, like Skynet listening, Google listening, all.
Yep.
You know, I want some dog food. Dog food gonna show up on my phone all later tonight. You know, it's different things like that.
Yeah.
Even retargeting. I think retargeting is hilarious because it's just like it keeps showing up. There's a great guy on Facebook, Abu. You see him, maybe see him on Instagram sometimes, and like he's notorious for, he made a commercial out of them going, "Dang, Abu, you keep targeting us," right? And he made a commercial out of it, and it runs nonstop, and it's hilarious because that's the power of data, right? So
yeah, and that's relationship building. And now you can see a correlation between how those relationships were built directly from those types of communication channels, whether it's a podcast, a certain type of YouTube video. Data science now gives us visibility to understanding that. And now you can start to predictably measure who will most likely be a good candidate for your product or service.
Yep.
Like, those are the problems that we solve. And like, it's mind blowing, you know?
So someone said Python plus cybersecurity or data science.
Just pick one.
Pick a
Poison and just go with it. You know,
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, if you go into one of these careers and you don't like it, I'd rather not like it at $100,000 a year and go, well, I can go over here, than I'm making $24,000 a year and I'm like, oh, where am I gonna go? I mean, I'm not telling people to not have passions or just dreams, but I'm like, a lot of these young people that are getting ready to graduate high school to a new world, I mean, a really new world. We're talking about the Skynet world versus the Hunger Games. I'm trying to encourage as many kids, regardless if they look like me or not, but I'm trying to encourage them, go over here. Like, because then if you do this for 5 years and you're like, you know, I want to do something different, you done made $500,000. Your pay is different. Your life is different. Your network is different.
Yeah, I mean, you have to try, because, like, for example, for me, I started my career working in the fashion industry, doing a lot of this intelligence and whatnot, like companies like Calvin Klein, for example, and I didn't like it. And I pivoted. I took that experience and went somewhere else. Like, why can't you? You could be working at a pet shop or a bakery right now, and you can start be solving some of these problems today. And it still applies because it's the fundamental principles behind what you're doing is what is going to solve the business problem. So just get out there. Just get out there.
Companies use multiple systems that don't talk to each other well.
Yep.
Bingo.
Yep.
There's software for trucking industry right now so that it'll link your bank, it'll link your driver pay, it'll link these, and that is like, exactly, and you need it. Like, I didn't even realize we needed it until you're like, hey, what's the payroll? What's the this, what's that? There's all different systems not talking to each other. So imagine a big company, not that I'm not a big company, I'm a millionaire company, but not as big as some of these multimillionaire companies. Imagine their systems not talking. It's a big deal. It's a big problem. I can yell over the hallway and get some data, but I mean, bigger you get, you need to have it.
Yeah, I mean, that's why cybersecurity is a big deal. I think just now there was an article about how a lot of people lost their unemployment checks in the government because there were people stealing that. Like, opportunity right there. There are government contracts to solve that problem. Like, you know, get in where you fit in.
I want you to understand that one of the broker companies we're using for the trucking company, all of a sudden they wanted one of their money back. And our freight factoring company was like, no, we completed that load. And then they just came clean and they told everybody, look, we had ransomware shut down our company for 2 weeks. That's why nobody heard from us. That's why it's been so hard to communicate. We're not trying to steal money from the companies that deliver goods. What we got back, they messed with our system.
Yep.
So this company that is a multi-billionaire, and you know, I think we all signed NDAs or something. We can't really say their name, but anyway, the company is famous broker. Now, nobody wants to work with them. No shipper wants to book with them. Nobody wants to deal with them because they paid a $2 million ransom. And if they're messing up our data and we're a small company, imagine whose data, like big trucking companies that they messed up, that they're like, hey, you know, we got hacked for 2 weeks. Like literally their staff were like apologizing, emailing us, apologizing, like we're locked out, we can't see anything, we got hacked. And I'm like, imagine that. Yeah. You shut a multi-million-dollar company down for 2 weeks. So
Yeah.
cybersecurity is important. Data science is important. They should have known at some point they needed some more protection there. So
Yeah. Just 2 years ago, Salesforce released an awesome technology that has enabled Marriott, as in the hotel chain, to allow you to check in directly from your phone before you even arrive and use your phone to access your hotel room. Imagine what would happen if Marriott had to experience that ransom situation. All these business leaders, people who travel for business or leisure, they would not be able to do business with Marriott. They would literally be bleeding money. So there you go.
when you're consulting for a company, how do you decide what you should charge? Have you ever charged a percentage of future revenue like a smaller company that doesn't have a lot of money? Robert Anderson.
So it's important to take a look at the inventory of your skills and what you have accomplished to date. So if you're someone who's new to the industry, you do not have many use cases, which are examples of scenarios in which you solve problems for, you need to start volunteering your time to provide evidence that show that the company was at this state when you entered in the conversation, and through employing your strategies, what have you, they've been able to go from point A to point Z and seeing that growth. And until you have testimonials, again, value that has been provided, and you can speak to that and actually make it very clear, crystal clear, you cannot charge top dollar. So you have to start from somewhere. But for example, in my field of work, I've seen hourly rates for solving problems such as like making systems talk with one another. I've seen, for depending on the company size, what they can afford, anything from like say $30-$40 an hour as like an entry level type thing, way beyond $150-$200 an hour. And honestly, one of my mentors charges $1,000 an hour for this sort of stuff. So it's really the sky's the limit. I'm personally trying to get to the $1,000 an hour aspect there, but you have to build use cases and show the type of companies you're working with based on industry, company size, volume of spend that they may have on their ads, or how much they're paying for their people and their teams. These sorts of things matter. But as a quick golden nugget to help you evaluate who is a good fit to work with you so you can have this transformation, vet a company to understand who's on their team. Understand if they have a marketing manager that's currently working and managing campaigns, if they have admin staff. Understand like how big that company is and how much they're spending per month on expenses. That will show you how much value you can provide if you were to hit the hammer in the head with your solution. And that will skyrocket you to the hourly rate or per project rate that you like to charge, because you will be able to not only get word of mouth referrals, but you will be able to actually show the long-term benefit and be able to predict what that's going to be over time. So, as much as they have to vet you, you have to vet them.
And so I want to make it very clear to people, the consulting isn't going anywhere. I know everybody's like, oh, the flying, no one's flying, no one's consulting. People are going to be consulting very hard for the next 18 months. I'm telling you this, on May 22nd, 2020, the next 18 months is going to be some companies go away forever, disappear, die, company's gone, or companies are going to survive and they're going to say, okay, how many of my staff I got to train to do this? How many people I got to train to do that? Where do we need to let go of people? Even now, as Cam is talking, first thing I'm thinking is I have a marketing manager being hired next week. Then I have an SEO person that does my blogging and moved my website up. Then I have a team that markets my ads. Now, how do they all communicate with each other?
Yep, systems.
One's here, the other two are remote, right? And then as we add people, how do they all communicate with each other? Yeah. Right? One is Asana, but two is like, how do we make that smooth transition? How do we make that work for everybody? And that's where somebody like a Cam comes along, right? Yeah. Because you're saying, how do we make $1 million a month and the teams communicate? What does that look like? How can you help us? Does that make sense?
Yep. And this is why I'm suggesting vetting the company, because you don't want to be the bottleneck where you're responsible for driving the success of the solution that you're trying to enable. You want to have a company that already has a system in place where they can adopt what you're presenting and hit the ground running immediately with. You don't want to be the person, I mean, sometimes you have to, and that's fine if you're starting off without an experience, but if you're busy like me, like you want to make sure you can kind of jump in and drive value as much as possible. So again, to Erica's point, systems, processes, that's how you scale.
Thank you, Robert Anderson, for the $5 super chat. He said he learned a lot of this stuff. He read a 100-page machine learning book. Whew, bless you. Curtis Davis said Square, Twilio, PayPal offer AIP tools.
Yep, API. So that's kind of why Zapier came out with a lot of success, because systems need to talk to one another. And the ones that you guys are mentioning, like PayPal, Twilio, Square, you know, Square, PayPal, those are commerce, like point of purchase, like allowing you to, of course, like drive a transaction. But like Twilio, a communication tool, you can send text messages, what have you. You need to understand like how, like what activity is happening between systems. And you may have like a scenario where it's like, if this happens, this needs to happen. And that's what the API is triggering. Zapier, for example, like automates some of those tasks, but sometimes Zapier is not an effective solution, and you have to be the person that goes behind the scenes and use something like Python or JSON or what have you to actually build that, like so the systems can talk to one another.
Right. And again, my phone rings for Zapier or like some kind of email I keep getting, because when you start hitting certain levels, you get a lot of companies marketing to you, and I'm like, I don't know what you're selling. Explain it to me like a 5-year-old. Why do I need this? I was like, because a lot of times you can just, as a business owner, go, hey, send out an email and hits everybody. Hey, tell the staff to do this, and it hits everybody. Very like punch, result, punch, result, punch, result. But long-term scaling businesses need like a Zapier, need some of these things to help you like plan out. So you're not just like on a Friday, like, hey, everybody send out an email right now. You know what I mean?
Yep. It's true. I mean, API is just electricity that kind of just runs between things. That's all it basically is. Think about it from that.
Radiant Jesus said, send her invoice. He said,
awesome. Sorry.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Kimmoy's been in here chatting. Show the results. Siri Holly, thank you for the $5 super chat. A great way to get immediate credibility is to create a portfolio on GitHub or blog on Medium showcasing your skill set. Like, I'm writing all these down, you guys. I mean, I'm going to give it to the SEO company and be like, write a blog about this stuff. Write a blog about all my tech week videos. Cough, cough, person in the chat.
If you're in data science, a great tool which I'm going to be contributing to is medium.com. There's a section there called Towards Data Science. And that portal was not really a portal, it's a section of an online magazine that allows consultants, people in the field to share epiphanies and strategies for how they implement X, Y, and Z. So that's a golden nugget to create some sort of thought leadership behind your work. Something I'm going to be working on with my own marketing strategy. So, hey, take it in and run with it.
Okay, we have small token of my appreciation. Thank you, Rod, for real estate. For the $10 super chat. Yep, I'm a consultant. It's definitely still needed. And definitely make sure you have a clear scope of work when you're working with companies. They will try to get more out of you. Of course, that's our job. Our job is to get the most out of you. I just paid like a $4,000 invoice the other week, and I came back and was like, oh no, we said on the phone you're gonna do this. He was like, no, I didn't say that. I'm like, yes, you did. I wrote it in my notes. And he was just kind of like, all right, man. And I was like, that's our job as business owners. We're gonna squeeze you, dude. You know, if I fly you in for $5,000, I'm gonna be like talking to you for 2 more weeks. Like, hey, I got some more questions.
CYA, right? Consult.
Yeah, like, hey, I got some more questions. I mean, that's what we do. That's what we do. Okay. Like, the boys like acting like that's a bad thing. That's perfect. Okay.
I mean, under promise, over deliver.
That's right.
You know.
And I'm gonna make sure you over deliver. I'm gonna be like, hey.
not too much now. I gotta sleep too, you know.
Defend them. Defend the people. Okay. When you're putting your portfolio together and telling your story about your experience, how do you make sure you aren't giving away another company's information? How about that?
Yeah. So there are, I'm not sure if anyone is aware, but there are literally companies out there that hire consultants to participate in surveys and qualitative research, like focus groups on industry happenings, whether it is the future of certain technologies and softwares, to then use that to build new products and services. And one of the important things you have to make sure is that you're not sharing proprietary information. So things that you learn on a job, obviously with every client or your employer, you have to have like an NDA where you don't share that information. It really is simple as just not sharing the steps that you took to get that done from a very deep level, or sharing the data behind that. You can talk about the strategy, like the overall methodology behind it, but just don't share the information. Talk about the process that is required to actually solve the problem. Just don't share anything regarding the what the business is currently doing or will be doing, or any of the data that is sensitive. Because as data scientists, we oftentimes work with important customer data that cannot be exposed, and we have to make sure we're guarding that to our best of our ability. So just don't share that information. Share process, methodologies. Don't share any tactics or conversations that have been discussed between you and your stakeholder. That keeps you your butt covered.
Yeah, I think that probably be a big issue too, because imagine your competitors oh, they hired Kamarin Lee. Let us hire Kamarin Lee next month, right? And then you're like, no, I can't tell you that. Can't tell you that. I mean, I think that's where those technology wars are going to come in. I will say that part.
Mm-hmm. But out of those conversations, you can start to surface what are the biggest problems that these companies are facing that can give you an idea about a product or service that you can start up on your own to offer. So that may be a tool like Zapier that solves that problem for another company without actually spilling the beans. It's just you're giving the methodology and making it easy to hit the ground running. So like an example could be like the portal that Erica uses to identify jobs for her trucking business. There are unique problems and challenges that companies in the trucking industry are facing utilizing that software. Why can't you be the person that steps in and provides a solution, whether it be a tool that automates something or surfaces an insight that she would need to make sure her business is growing and not declining?
Oh yeah, I mean, now that I'm in more of a manager role, and that's what I try to do as well at YouTube, get on the outside of it and manage it. A lot of this I'm telling y'all, the difference between the YouTubers that are making it, is the numbers. It's just knowing your numbers, knowing the data, when to offer courses, when to offer products, when to offer consulting. There's a lot of little things that come in. Same thing with the trucking. There's a lot of software out there, and it again, what he said is true. It makes everybody talk. It makes your QuickBooks talk to this. It makes this talk to that. It is good stuff, because with Keep Trucking app, it tells me if there's fault codes, there's problem with the trucks, need to be serviced soon, trips, IFTAs to IFTA. IFTA is something you have to do quarterly. Well, this software pulls all those things inside of it, ELD logs, and also your QuickBooks and your payroll, and tells you if you're doing good or not. So,
or sometimes how productive your team is.
Yes, we have one lazy driver, honey.
Well, you're screenshot monitors is one thing that is useful,
very useful. And they everybody gets a laptop when they come here, and I'll be wanting to say, I have to tell you by law that it's screenshot monitor. But if I didn't have to, I wouldn't. Okay. Now you're talking IoT, Internet of Things, connecting systems and devices. I'm interested in creating my own AIP and systems, a family of systems. Tell us more. YouTube channel, big money growth.
Thank you, Rod.
Thank you, Lizzie Hatch, for the $5 super sticker, aka super chat. So is there any other questions you guys have in the chat for Cam? I don't want to take up his whole Friday. You know, my employees had to inform me that it is Memorial Day weekend. I was like, and we ain't the bank. I'll see y'all Monday. What y'all talking about? So we're putting any questions you can in the chat. And what college did you go to by chance?
So I went to college up in the Boston area. I went to a small university called Brandeis University. Mm-hmm. So if you're familiar with Will and Grace, Deborah Messing went to Brandeis. So that's some.
How dare her go there?
and the president from Scandal.
Okay, that's a hook. So basically, actresses go there. Actors.
I mean, it's a sign. The university focuses on research and science, but this is actually useful too. I didn't study any of those things. I got a really like a degree that's not helpful. I studied, well, it's helpful, but not in this context. I studied fine arts. So, but that shows you.
I love it. Listen, that you need to tie that into your story that I went to school for an arts degree and now I'm making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in data science. That somewhere you need to make that a tagline. I don't know where, but I'm for real. I mean, you need to write. I'm for real. You need to like put somewhere in a tagline, like in a book, ebook, like going from fine art. Because people act like communications and art students can't change careers. That's not true. We may not like the choice, but I mean, like people may not like that we're talking down about those 2 degrees, but those are the ones with the highest unemployment. And it's like, okay, now it's time to segue. How do we do that?
I mean, my school wasn't cheap either. I mean, I was blessed to have good scholarships, but it's important to note, like fine arts, there are scientific principles within that I directly apply to data science analytics. Like, for example, data visualization. How do you tell a story with the data so you can look at it and know exactly what you need to do next? Like that's there are little degrees that offer data visualization right now, but it's UX, a little bit of communication, marketing, as well as analytics to drive that. So I applied it in a smart way, but I can't say the same for everyone else who goes to that. So.
It happens. Kimmoy Mather said, what type of careers are available for those interested in data storytelling and email marketing?
So data storytelling is something that came out of a recent challenge because data science is a big buzzword right now, but companies are starting to see, what do we do with this? Target is actually the biggest company in the world, from what I understand, that has, well, the company in the world that has, I think, 1,000 data scientists employed, more than some of the biggest tech companies. I think more than Facebook and Google, I believe. So I don't hold me to that.
Say that again? Who?
Target.
Target? Honey, they telling stories all day.
So, yeah, so I say that because, you know, as the economy shrinks and stuff, there are going to be people who may be in this field who ends up losing their positions, but it may be because the company itself cannot see a direct correlation between what they're doing and the problem that they're solving. So an example of this, I kind of saw the Joe Rogan thing happening because I know that like at Spotify and other companies are facing an issue with attribution, which is the science of understanding what action actually drove the sale. Is it by clicking on an ad? Is it by participating in this video? I don't know what it is, but what actually drove that point of sale, and actually understanding how that relates to the app experience and seeing what they were working on recently on that. There's a story behind that, which I can say for another time, but companies are starting to see the direct correlation between data science and the results. So if you want to communicate that value, you need to know how to become a data storyteller. It's something that is new. I have to give a shout out to an awesome new mentor of mine. Her name is Miko Yuk, Y-U-K, excuse me. She's also a fellow Blasian from the Caribbean. She's amazing.
No. Go ahead,
I'm just joking. But
just last name Lee. That's all. No, go ahead.
But she's all about data storytelling, and it's important to note that BI, business intelligence, while it is very useful for business, the future is analytics and prescriptive analytics, like actually knowing what to do with the data. So let's imagine ourselves on a treadmill. We have an Apple Watch on, we're monitoring our heartbeat. We are trying to make sure our heartbeat is at a pace so we can actually get the best result from that workout. The future of data analytics and data science is allowing the user, which is you running, to be able to quickly look at your Apple Watch, know exactly what you need to do to actually take action on that. So rather than getting off the treadmill, going to your computer, and then like looking at a screen to see what your heart rate is, and then figuring out what you need to do next, and then go back in a treadmill. Like that's where we are right now with data. The future is giving more agency, more ownership to the data that the companies are using. So data storytellers are going to be the future of that, and Miko Yuk teaches you how to fundamentally achieve that. And she's now offering these sort of skills online. I just want to say, reach out to her team, her support team. She is definitely helping people to be able to acquire this skill set because it's a big gap. There are not many people who look like us in this field. There's a lot of people who, I'm trying to be careful here, people who have different communication skills based on their background, their accents, etc. And if you're able to hit the ground running with that, you are going to really skyrocket your career. So, that's what is at the forefront of that. Email marketing, I have to say more or less the same. You have to communicate what's happening, and you have to know how to tell a story with the data. So I'll leave it at that for that question. Yep. So Rod, that's correct. Miko Yuk. That's. I'm sorry, with the C not a K.
So part of what I'm gonna keep it short because I don't want to take up too much of his time, but I'm gonna say it for another video. The battle for who is number 2 is already here, and that's what I mean when I talk about Skynet wars. And you'll have a bunch of people who are 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. They don't matter. When you have Coca-Cola, you have Pepsi. So even if you're like, I can't taste the difference, which you're a liar. Pepsi is always better. The number 2 person still makes billions of dollars. So if Spotify goes, we're going to do video and we're going to have these podcasts, we're going to do this. Now they've just pushed themselves into this position of maybe not number 2. There's probably going to be someone else who's going to be number 2, but number 3. And number 3 is still a contender. Number 3 is still going to make billions of dollars. Like they made $5 billion in 48 hours. And whether iTunes or YouTube wants to be honest about that, they lost $5 billion in 48 hours.
Yeah.
So that's the real thing of it.
It's so true. It's about just getting where you fit in. I'm telling you guys stuff that's actively happening. These conversations are a lot of it on LinkedIn and offline amongst these circles, but just getting yourself in the door. That's all I have to say to really if you had to summarize this conversation, that's the action you have to take.
Okay, so these are the last 3 I'm going to show. What language would you recommend to start? If it's SQL, should you put packages on GitHub?
Of example projects, sure. You can mark it as private. You don't have to share it with the public and just whip it out when you're in the interview. One thing I recommend doing in the interview is making sure you have a plan of action in mind for that company, spelling it out and actually making it tangible. So I'm talking about going to FedEx Kinko's if you have to, creating it in a nice presentation binder, and just like Erica's bank book, slamming on the desk, here is everything that you need to do today, or what I'm going to do to drive transformation for your business using, data science and analytics. So that's another secret tip during the interview process that, makes folks very excited. And I have to credit that to Ramit Sethi. Is a briefcase technique, I believe.
Yep. So briefcase technique. I'm about to say, look at you. You know what I'm talking about. It's like, oh, and then there's more. So it's like, do you have any specific tips for six-figure consultants if you're already in the field, and the difference between those who can command the higher salary? And that's our last question.
So the highest salaries, it's really having more logos on your portfolio. And by logos, I mean working with the biggest companies. Like, you don't have to necessarily be consulting with Google or Facebook to be able to command that. It's really the problem that you're solving. Having those use cases and being able to speak to it in a very clear way, that will, because you can't, if you're a business owner, you're a business owner, Erica, right? And if I'm able to expose to you something that will drive tens of millions of dollars this year for your business and wipe away everything that's going to bleed money in your business, how valuable that is to you. You will pay exorbitant amounts of money to solve for that, right?
Yeah.
So that's what you need to do. You need to develop a sound portfolio of use cases that show you how you solve those problems.
Okay, I like it. I like it. So Emporial Prime, thank you for the $5 super chat. Thanks again for sharing the tech treasure trove this week. Looking forward to more to come. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yes,
Hope
the
I
brief.
didn't talk you guys off so much. I'm excited.
No. I mean, listen, we want this kind of stuff. I think you guys understand long-term SEO. When I start typing this stuff in the computer, even if Skynet suppresses me, like a lot of this stuff in the future, even if I take these videos and put them on another channel, so I know there's a space for it. I know there's a place for it because people are hungry for what? New careers, new work. And if you're a guy or girl who got laid off and you realize my neighbor Bob is sitting in his pajamas named Cameron Lee working on it from home, I want to know what he's doing. Right? So that kind of thing. But anyways, thank you for sharing your time.
Thank you for having me. This is
sure. I've enjoyed watching your journey. You've put in a lot.
Not over yet.
Listen, Kimmoy's out there traveling islands like a famous person, and I think you're going to be next. You're going to be out there just on an island somewhere tripping.
Wait till this YouTube channel drops. Like, all the value from this YouTube course that Erica has provided is amazing. Guys, get in. Like, just
I'm telling you, I'm running a ridiculous ads. But yes, I may even consult. I may even get you to come consult to the new staff when all the 10 people are here.
We'll talk. I have a backlog of things I'm getting edited right now, so
I believe it.
To getting it done. I don't have the time. I can't edit right now.
You have to hire people out, man. To hire young people. So, all right, guys, this is your girl Erica from the Classy Line blog. Thank you for joining the tech week we've had this week. We will have some more tech shows next week. I know we have someone scheduled for Tuesday and Wednesday, so hopefully you guys will continue to join us. If I don't see you this weekend, which hopefully I'll be enjoying myself from the water on the lake, you guys enjoy yourself. Later, awesome. Cam.
Later, guys. Peace.